Hi everyone, so today I'm going to be looking at another old camera. This week it's the Olympus OM-D E-M10 original edition, or Mark 1 if you will. 16 megapixels, so a big jump up from the 6 megapixels we had last week on our Pentax Starist. And really, like, 16 megapixels, as I'll discuss later, is all that you'll need. The only downside is from the Starist you don't get the CCD sensor this time. You get a CMOS sensor, mic 4/3 instead, but still very nice image quality from this camera and this lens as well. This is the kit lens, the 14-42, as I'll go through later on. Really nice image quality and certainly enough resolution for online or up to medium-sized prints, as I'll discuss later on. Now these cameras, this one included, and the next couple of ones or next few weeks, I'm going to be looking at them not as like an all-round camera, it's very specifically street urban photography, like how they would compare to, let's say, the Ricoh GR III in this case, which by many is called the Street King, and that's debatable, but certainly an excellent street photography camera. Small, pocketable, one-handed operational, jeans pocketable at that, so you can pretty much take it anywhere with you and take pictures without actually being bothered in most cases. This camera here is nice and small. It's certainly regular trouser pocketable or jacket pocketable, certainly. If you wanted to take this camera and a couple of lenses, you could take a pretty small bag as well and still be discreet, even though you'd have a camera bag. So a lot to like about the mic 4/3. I think I've used it a lot for street, mainly Lumix cameras, but I have to say I really like this camera. I took it out a couple of weeks ago to do street photography and really liked the look I got with it as well. Now, as I said, the Ricoh's got a great one-handed operation, and this being a bigger camera does, I think, have better ergonomics. You've got this really nice double dial here as well. You've seen that the camera switched on there because I had it in sleep mode, and you've actually got, I think, like a nice quick lens here. This is a kit lens. What I like about this compared to the Lumix kit lens, the 12-32, is that when you turn on the camera, it opens up immediately and you can shoot straight away. So if you have this camera in sleep mode and you're going around the streets, you can respond pretty quickly and take a shot quickly, which is something the Ricoh GR III really excels at, particularly with snap focus. The one thing I'd say about this camera is a disadvantage is where the on-off switch is, which is right down here in the bottom right-hand corner, which is a terrible position because really awkward, because what you want from ideally what you want your on switch or on and off switch is on the top plate of the camera here. Really easy to get to. I prefer the ones that are like kind of close to the shutter button. I think they're the ones for me that work the best. But I think in the next generations of this camera, they did move it to the top plate. However, I think it was over on this left-hand side here beside the mode dial, which is certainly better than the bottom of the camera, but I think I would prefer it ideally over here. But yeah, like it's maybe a minor enough criticism, but certainly something that I think in this particular model holds back a little bit. But if you put in sleep mode, the battery life's pretty good. I would recommend that rather than turning the camera on and off as well. The other nice thing about this camera compared to the Ricoh is you've got your actual tilt screen here, which you can see there as well. And you've also got the other big advantages, the optical viewfinder, or sorry, not optical, the electronic viewfinder. Now the electronic viewfinder is 1.4 million dots, so certainly a bit archaic, I suppose some people would call it, compared to the standards that we have now. But on a sunny day, if you're in a pinch, it's enough to compose your picture properly, and then for the majority of the time, especially with street photography, it's actually better to shoot off the back screen. But it's still nice that you have the option here. You can get an optical viewfinder for the Ricoh GR III. It's expensive. There is third parties which are cheap, but there's a reason why they're cheap. They're not very good. A lot of times not even 28mm. equivalent. So I personally with the Ricoh GR III, I just go off the back screen. I don't actually get the optical viewfinder to put into the flat shoe, or the hot shoe, sorry, I should say. Yeah, so that's a big advantage, I think, of this as well. And also you've got the lenses that are another big advantage here as well. You can change your lenses. So the lenses I'd recommend would be, for this particular camera, the 17mm f1.8 from Olympus is around $200 to $300 US. If you want something a bit wider, you can get the 15mm Panasonic lens f1.7, which I'm actually filming the overhead shot with here as well. Again, that's around the same price, the Olympus. The autofocus, it depends your arm. You've got greater depth of field with wider lenses, so I think you're okay to go with your preference there. If you prefer the 30mm or close to 28mm look of the Ricoh GR III, get the 15mm. But if you want to ensure that your autofocus is going to work perfectly, maybe go with 17mm for Olympus. The 25mm, you can get either the Lumix or Olympus. The Lumix is usually about half the price of the Olympus. They're both very similar quality, but again, if autofocus is important, you might be better off paying the premium there. And then finally, if you want to round out a set of primes to go with your actual zoom here, I'd recommend maybe going for the 45mm. It's good for portraits. You could do street portraits as well. It's a bright lens, so again, unlike this kit lens, and like the case with all the prime lenses are, if you want to do low light street photography, that's where they're actually going to shine, because the great thing you've got there is they're all sharp, wide open, and you've got double the depth of field that you have with a full frame camera, for example. So you can actually, if you get your exposure right, you can actually get pretty low ISO depending on where you're shooting, and definitely I've got good results with the GH5 and the GX80 in low light. I've usually been able to keep the ISO down below 3200 or 2500, which on those cameras, if you do that, they're actually usable results. So yeah, like the disadvantage, I suppose, then with the Ricoh is you're stuck with the brightness of the lens. It's f2.8, which is fine usually, and it's certainly good for depth of field. But as I said, when you get into that lower light, your ISO is going to start going up. But yeah, I think a really good solid street photography camera, and certainly if you want to get a whole system, those lenses I mentioned there, if you are patient and looked around the second-hand markets, you could put something together for around the price of a Ricoh GR III, but have a kit lens and have a set of 3 primes, whatever particular primes he wants to go with. You could come in around either the same price as the GR or similar. And I think that's something very compelling, especially if money is an issue and you don't really feel you can afford a specialist street photography camera. I think this is actually something that's really worth looking at, and I definitely recommend going with a cheaper solid camera like this, rather than getting the latest and greatest camera and not having any money for lenses. Like, I got this camera for €100. You'll still get it for around €100, $100, depending on where you are, in reasonably good condition. I mean, yeah, it's a bit bruised and battered, sensors clean, all the buttons work. That's all you care about, really. Like, it doesn't matter too much look. So actually, sometimes a slightly worn camera can have a bit of a more grungy look, which maybe some street photographers would prefer. But yeah, definitely save the money on the camera, invest in the lenses, and you'd be amazed what you could get. That's pretty much all for now. I'll show some photos at the end of this to show what's possible. All are taken with this kit lens. Thanks for watching, and bye now.